Understanding different types of research study designs can sound a bit tricky. There are so many study designs to choose from, but which particular study design is a best match for your project relies on certain things that we will unravel one by one. The simplest way to remember is to recall Level 1 classification, which splits into descriptive and analytical. Descriptive studies generally describes the dispersal or distribution of any disease and other features without analyzing certain hypotheses about causation or quantifying any relationship. Often such studies are used to formulate hypotheses. Analytical studies, on the other hand, test hypotheses about causation, measure the association or relationships between the exposure and the outcome variable. As we have discussed, the two main types are descriptive and analytical. Descriptive studies include cross-sectional surveys, case reports, and case series. Analytical splits into experimental or interventional and observational, that includes cohort, case control, and cross-sectional. So when do we choose descriptive studies? Case reports describe one-off uncommon or abnormal findings, whereas case series describe a chain of several unusual abnormal findings, for example, recognizing the start of an epidemic. Cross-sectional studies establish the concurrent prevalence of exposure and disease. They can assist to formulate a hypothesis and sometimes to even test a hypothesis. When do we choose case control studies? Cases are individuals with a certain outcome of interest are compared with controls who do not experience the outcome of interest. This design is ideal for rare outcomes or diseases. For example, sudden infant death syndrome, which is a rare outcome, can be studied by comparing certain important features like the mattress type and sleeping position used by children who had died from this syndrome cases versus children who had not, the controls. Cohort studies are used where a group of individuals who do not have the outcome of interest or are free of illness that we are looking for are exposed to certain exposure of interest. At the end of the study, according to the exposure of interest, the group of people who develop the outcome or disease or illness are compared to those who have not developed the outcome that we are interested in. For example, a group of workers who are initially free of outcome that we are looking for example lung cancer, are exposed to asbestos. At the end, we compare both the groups, those who had developed the lung cancer versus those who had not, though both being exposed to asbestos. Cohort studies are suited for rare exposures and they detect temporal or sequential relationships. Interventional studies or randomized control trials. If you want to intervene or purposely want to allocate the intervention, for example, a medication to one group called interventional group and assigning a placebo or no medication to another group called control group, and then evaluate the effect of intervention on health-related outcomes. For example, if intervention is a blood pressure lowering medication, then the researcher can study the effect of introducing that medication, which is an intervention, whether it reduces, increases, or keeps the blood pressure, which is the outcome of interest, the same.